All the children are still chanting 6-7, 6-7 to this day. Now, it may seem like a month behind on this topic, but right now I'm being moved to tell my testimony of how I overcame spiritual warfare as it relates to the belief system of this creator. Check out his background.
You could put you could put bad spirits on people too. Like you could put a person's name and like their birthday inside the. You could put them inside the agun pot, and like you basically sending agun like metal. Like they could get shot, stabbed, something could happen to them.
So it would be something in metal that would kill them. Like.
Yeah, you can actually put somebody's name in your shoe and keep it or in the bottom of your sock or in your shoe, like bad happened to him, like yeah.
But I got masks that you can't wear.
How many masks do you got?
Probably like 10 to 15. But I got masks that you can't wear, like ancient masks from like different tribes though, from old like ancient masks.
Now, when you listen to this guy, he clearly is using this belief system for dark intentions. That seems to be why he's using this practice. Now, you have people that will argue with you and say that the religion is not inherently evil. Well, I want you guys to listen even further when he introduces his Babylao.
Yo, I'm about to take y'all in my Godfather crib so he can show y'all what my religion.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Hey, nice to meet you, brother. I would love to learn about the religion and the background and everything.
Sure, no problem. Follow.
I'm going to pause the sound here just for a moment. You guys can go listen to the original sound in its totality, but you can kind of see the captions here. Now, this Babylao, or his guide who introduced this belief system and practice to him, pretty much just takes them around his shrine or whatever you want to call this for the offerings and everything of these deities. These people create spiritual contracts with these deities. They set an intention for the things that they want, and they do it in exchange. Listen to this.
Understanding, how much does these figures mean to you guys?
Well, to me, they mean the world. They mean everything to me.
You just get it and you gotta actually take care of everything and do the stuff that you're supposed to do. Yeah, before I signed my deal, that's what I asked for. And we was sitting in here before I even did it, the day before I did it. 2 days before I did it, and then I made my decision what I asked for, and then I got what I asked for.
So you really feel like you were blessed by higher powers to be signed and all that?
I know, for sure. Facts.
Somehow, this ended up taking over the kids. When these kids learn about 6-7 and go on the search to find out what it means, they end up finding Skrilla, and then
Revelation. Divine revelation. If you are familiar with my content, then you probably have seen some of the videos where I talk about overcoming witchcraft. I talk about spiritual manipulation, talk about energetic manipulation, and how people have been using these things against you, because a lot of this stuff was once hidden, but now it is being revealed and the veil is now lifted. Now, the story I'm about to tell you, as it relates to something that I've overcame, you may be able to relate in your own life, especially for those of you guys who have dealt with people trying to do destiny exchanges, destiny swapping, or just raging spiritual warfare against you just out of sheer jealousy and envy. Let me tell you something. If you have not gotten my book, it was published March 2023. I would definitely advise you to go get that book off of Amazon today. What ended up happening to me around September 2021, I talk about this so vividly all the time as my testimony, and I have no shame as it relates to that. No one has to believe it, but it was my reality, and I thank God that I've overcame it, and I can vocally speak about it with no shame or fear. I remember around that time where someone actually was doing a dark practice against me. I remember stepping away from everything and everyone that I just felt like was not really for me, or it was not in my best interest, and I had kind of just outgrew a lot of my old lifestyle and my old life in general. So shortly after me stepping away from everything and everyone, maybe about a month or two, a lot of good things started happening for me in a very short period of time. But the people around me, one person in particular, actually saw good things happening for me. And I remember about a month later, after that person visibly seeing the good things happening for me, and I actually saw that person, a lot of things started happening in my reality for the negative. People that I knew my entire life, as well as people that I knew in passing throughout the years, just started acting very weird. I noticed I had just started, my social media and just trying to get out there. Because for so long, I kind of just hid my personality and just kind of stayed in the backgrounds of life. And just God moved me to kind of show my creativity, my personality, and just get out there more. And especially with me having my own business and what I was doing, I needed to advertise, I needed to market. I just wanted to be more fun loving and more motivating and inspirational, like I had always wanted to be. Well, I remember a few people finding my social media, following me, but not saying anything at all. And that was so weird because I actually did know these people and we were pretty cool. I mean, at least we were pretty cordial. So I would think that if they would follow me, that they would interact with me. But they followed me and just watched, almost like monitoring spirits. And it was so weird because one was a guy that I knew, for a long time. And then one was a girl that I worked with and I knew her throughout the years, but they did not engage with me at all. Now, let me tell you the eerie part of it. There was also a relative of mine who I was pretty close to at least most of my life, but she started acting very weird too. So I noticed something with these people. The energy was the same. It's one of those things where you can't quite put your finger on it, but you can feel a familiar energy that something is sinister, something is not right. But because you do not have all the evidence, you can't really piece it together and make it make sense without it looking bizarre or maybe even a little crazy. So I just started kind of watching and observing the way these people were moving. And I noticed something. The guy that I knew throughout the years, he had put Ogun on his social media. Now, I never knew that he was associated with Yoruba. I never knew that he knew anything about Orishas or anything like that. For all I knew, he was a Christian for the majority of the time that we spoke. So for me to see him put Ogun up there, it was a little weird. But I also noticed too, the girl that I had worked with and I knew throughout the years, she had put either Oshun or Yemiya on her social media. And that too was kind of weird, considering the fact that these are Yoruba Orishas, and these people had always professed themselves to be Christians. Now, around the timing, I was going through a lot of spiritual warfare. Now, I don't know any of these people to have known each other. I don't know. Never knew that these people would know each other. It could be a coincidence or not. But I do know that those two people in particular, whom I thought were Christians, had put up Orishas and something related to the Yoruba tradition and belief system on their social medias while I was going through so much spiritual warfare. And as I said, I've never introduced these people to one another. I've never known these people to even know each other. And I just thought that that was so strange. Now, something else that was strange. This relative of mine who started acting distant and a little weird, I remember back in about April 2021, she had took a distorted picture of me, like one of those off-guard pictures of me, and she never posted it on her social media. But I always wondered, what did she do with that distorted and off-guard messed up picture of me? Because this was a person, while I was going through a very tough time in transition, she had unfollowed me on social media, but she has started wearing stuff like goddess and things like that out of nowhere. If you are a Christian, if like these people say that they are, you would not be saying things like goddess and things of that nature because quite naturally you are a Christian. And those types of things are supposed to be associated with New Age or at least other religious practices. But I had noticed all of those kind of weird coincidences, or were they? Because there was a person in particular who was making my life almost a living hell. And I had wondered, did that person get to these people? Because none of these people really knew each other, so I thought. And if so, what was this about? Were all of these people doing something? Were they conveyed or told something as it relates to me? Was misinformation given to everyone around me about me? And what would make these people who seem to be your everyday Christian folks now do something so spiritually out of the norm as it relates to their character and their representation? Listen, when I listen to this man and he talks about the Orishas and the offerings that they give to the Orishas and the intentions that they set and the things that they want to happen to certain people, it just all seems to be so familiar. I went to God in prayer about this. I fasted and I prayed, and I received a lot of revelations as it relates to my life and those who are around me in my environment. A lot of people were quiet when I was going through my darkest hours. A lot of people did not come to my aid and they were acting very strange. And in that time, the Holy Spirit told me to accept it, accept the reality of what it was. Instead of receiving clarity, instead of going to ask people who I know were going to play stupid, I just minded my business and decided that I was going to keep on moving in life no matter what. I didn't care about the calamity. I didn't care about the hocus pocus, the hooky booky, or anything else that somebody was doing as it relates to me. I made a decision that no matter what type of wilderness I was going through or my darkest storm, that I was not going to throw in the towel on life. So I started doing a lot of self-deliverance. If you've ever coached with me, then you know we talk about declarations and decrees, talk about spiritual warfare, but I also talk about the importance of deliverance. I observed those who were engaging in this very weird behavior. So I decided to look for open doors. What were the open doors in my life that will allow any type of dark intentions to stick to me? What would make any witchcraft or spiritual manipulation be effective in my life? So I looked for anything that I was doing that was sinful, that was outside of the realm of righteousness, and that was outside of the agreement with God. And so I just looked at myself and took self accountability based on a self inventory, and I did a personal spiritual audit of myself. And anything that was not holy and that was not of God, I put it away. I did away with it. I watched in real time so many things falling off of my life. And in turn, God had given me mental clarity, emotional regulation, spiritual fortitude. And to be honest, I felt more whole and more grounded than I did even before all of this spiritual warfare broke off. But I also noticed something too when God balanced me out and I was able to feel like myself, but better again. I noticed those same people, maybe around some months later or even close to a year, who were once trying to copy my original personality, also putting up all of those different deities and all of that stuff on their social media. I knew that those people were still watching me, obviously. They were not saying anything to me, but they were still watching me because I talked about God even more. I talked about Christianity. I talked about the ministry of Christ. I just talked about a lot of positivity and I was spreading the gospel of God. I did not care what people thought. I didn't care about the lies that were being spreaded against me. I didn't care about these people copying me. I didn't even care about the bizarre behavior that they were displaying. I just kept doing my mission in life and kept building my platform according to what God had called me to do. These people, months to a year later, started doing something different. So the guy that had the Ogun had took that down. Now he started talking about happiness is a choice and spreading positive messages. And then the girl who had the Oshun or the Yemaya up there, she had a cross necklace on now and she was talking about healing, something that I was talking about on my page. I was talking about Jesus Christ and I was talking about the healing journey because obviously I was healing from a lot of spiritual warfare and a smear campaign and a lot of narcissistic abuse. And I just thought that that was so weird. And that same girl, a little later on, because I started talking about identity shifting beyond trauma, she started talking about identity switching. I realized that these people have been watching me. Not only were they watching me, they were studying me, they were learning from me, they were inspired by me, but they were mirroring me. And that one relative, although she was not living a very holy life, I had never seen her talk about God as much as she started talking about God after my platform kind of took off and I've gone viral maybe about 2 or 3 times. I found all of this stuff to be weird because the Holy Spirit had gave me these revelations and told me to just be quiet, sit back, and just learn. A lot of times it's spiritual warfare and the things that happen in our lives and in the lives of other people, they may not know what is going on and why there seems to be a dark cloud around their lives and how their lives get flipped upside down. I find that when you are going through the storm or any type of dark wilderness, it is so important to be quiet, to step back, and to use that as a teachable moment, to allow everything in the physical realm to collapse so that you can learn what you need to learn in the spiritual realm as it relates to the totality of this life experience. See, it's a lot of things that people are not aware of. They just come into agreement that they just got struck a bad luck or just bad things are happening out of nowhere. Nothing just happens out of nowhere. And for those people who started acting very out of the norm, regardless of whether they knew each other or not, or it was just a little coinky-dink or coincidence, so to speak, it does not really matter. It was some type of familiar spirit that my spirit acknowledged and picked up on. And I knew that what was happening was spiritual, not so much just physical. There were things working in tandem. There were things working in tandem. And to say few and not too much, I zoomed in on this one person in particular, and I noticed that as I stayed on the scene, as I grew in my empowerment again, as I started to display more confidence than ever before, as I started doing a lot of my self-deliverance work and coaching and helping people along this journey, and even just telling my testimony openly without any shame, that person who seemed so arrogant at one time, who was almost like bullying me in many ways, that same prideful energy that they were displaying before. And those people who were out of the norm with their behavior had also seemed to kind of calm down and just kind of act like they were back to normal again. I realized evil likes to hide in the dark. When people are doing underhanded things and they think that you don't know anything about it, especially as it relates to the occult, and they think that it's a secret and the key is on you and everybody knows but you, and they're just going to sit back and watch your life unravel and fall apart, and you're not supposed to know where it's coming from or how it's happening, and everybody's just going to watch you live in a horror or a nightmare at your expense and for their personal entertainment. It's fun. They're boastful and everybody's just having a grand old time. But when you allow God to reveal and you take your hands off the situation and you trust that spiritual justice will be served, it will be served. And especially if you're living a consecrated life and you're trying to live as holy and righteous as you possibly can, every exchange will be reversed. Every evil intention will be driven away. Every negative ill wisher will be brought to shame. And the only thing that you can hope is that these people learn the error of their ways and they learned a spiritual lesson of a lifetime. And hopefully they repent and they ask God for forgiveness for what they thought they were doing in the dark. And for you, you get to live your life in purpose without fear of any kind, because a curse without cause will not and shall not stand. God didn't give us the spirit of fear. You will be able to look in the eyes of the person who tried to put a hex or a cross on you, and you will be able to see them without ever saying a word of what you know as it relates to their hidden hand. They know that you know that they know what they did. And it's okay, because those people were a catalyst to your spiritual growth. They allow you to see that there is a very wicked, wicked world out there, because so many of us are so bubbly and we're so optimistic and we project our goodness on others. But there's a dark side to this world. And I thank God every day that what I experienced and everything that I overcame, that it led me to this purpose and to this walk, because I have had the pleasure of working with so many amazing clients who too have gone through their various spiritual warfares that led them to understanding the spiritual realm and their purpose and what God has called them to as well. It's a very hard lesson, very challenging on this journey. And if you're spiritual, you probably can't tell many people about your experience, because people are going to say, oh, that defies logic. That is completely crazy. So it is what it is. But I thank God so much to be among so many spiritually awakened people and beautiful believers who can now see the sacredness of life, and you're able to be birthed into your purpose for what used to be a dark time in your life. It actually brought you to the light, and it gave your life so much more meaning. And so you were able to go out there and do what God has called you to. If you're one of those people and this story relates to you and this message resonates with you, you can reach out to me for a one-on-one coaching session. If you are still going through the grips of this type of thing and you're trying to do a little discovery as it relates to your life and trying to figure out what the world is going on, feel free to reach out to me. My information is in the description box, and it will be an honor to be your coach, and we can go from there. You guys, thank you so much for your time, space, and energy. I pray that you like, comment, and subscribe, and don't be afraid to share if you care.